like to start with an acknowledgement of country. Given most of my time has been spent in Western Sydney, I'd like to first acknowledge the Eora people, traditional custodians of the land I grew up on, where Edgelinks began, and the place that gave me the opportunities I've had since last year. And I'd also like to acknowledge the Kurungay people, the traditional custodians of the land where I bring this to you today. For all the nations on which you, the audience, have met on here today, we pay our respects to all the elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today and those in future watching. For those who don't know much about me, I'm Grant Skibberus, the founder of Edgelinks, an English and history teacher with an often idealistic passion and interest for education. With the help of my brother Carl and close colleagues like Rose here today and friends, I've worked on Edgelinks to solve ideally some big picture education issues. My belief is that this startup can close gaps in the education system by bringing greater access to quality programs for all communities in Australia. Excursions, incursions, and partnerships are often memorable, lasting experiences of learning for students. They offer a glimpse into the real world of adults, heroes, and can often teleport children and teenagers across time periods, perspectives, and spaces. They can be the spark that inspires our next generation of actors, artists, engineers, scientists, athletes, chefs, and more. And for teachers, they can be a reminder of why they chose to teach the subject. Or it also helps them find new ways to create relevant, meaningful, and deep lessons for their students. Edgelinks can help to make these experiences easier, more supportive, relevant, and collaborative for the benefit of all involved. And I hope for all here, you can see how much I will continue to try and make this and other idealistic goals more of a reality. So for today, each presenter will have 5 minutes to present and 3 minutes of question and answer time. Teachers, please put any questions in the chat and at any time, and we will address them in that Q&A period. This is being recorded, so attendees will be muted throughout, other than presenters when presenting. I'll also hold up a green texter for ready to go and stick it up here. The yellow highlighter when you have about a minute remaining, and the red for when there is 30 seconds remaining until your Q&A time starts. And just for presenters, remember to tick the share sound and the optimize video when you share your screen. Also select the multiple windows if you need to use more than just a PowerPoint or and attaching through with any YouTube links as well, and just hold shift when you do that. So we're going to first start off and pass it off to Poetry in Action with Bryce and Erica.
Hey everybody, so my name is Bryce Youngman. I'm the Artistic Director and founder of Poetry in Action, and with me today is Erica Lovell, who is one of our directors, but also comes to Poetry in Action with not only a theatre training and a performing background, but also an academic one, and Erica has done our teachers pack, so hopefully if there's any questions around the modules or things like that after our little time here, we can hopefully field those questions as well. Just to give you a quick little idea, so we have 4 shows that travel all around Australia. We have 2 teams of actors, 3 actors that travel all around Australia, New Zealand. Before COVID, we were in Asia and in the Middle East as well. And we have become one of the premier touring theatre companies for young people, each year performing to about 80 to 85,000 kids in a regular year. Last year we managed to kind of pivot digitally, and we managed to get the shows recorded so they can still be distributed in the event of any further disruptions to education and the education of the kids in the regular classroom setting. What we'd like to do today is just to give you an insight into one of the shows that we've got available for you. We've got some actors here ready to do an excerpt from our show, The Power of Poetry, which is currently in rehearsal, so you're getting a kind of very much behind the scenes look at work that is being produced at the moment. The show that we're going to give you a bit of a look at, one of the actors in it is pretending to be the minivan driver who doesn't know the show, and is being taught the elements of poetry and the show as it's happening in real time in front of the kids. So it's lots of fun. We're going to jump in and have a look at Elizabeth Barrett Browning's sonnet, How Do I Love Thee? And then Eric and I'll come back to answer any questions that you might have about the show or the performances at the end. Enjoy.
How is this going to work? Emma is never going to be able to replace Candace.
Jessie, I don't think I can do this. I only agreed to help because... Oh. I'll be in the van.
But wait, Emma!
No, I'm going to the van. I'm listening to Triple J.
But the next poem in the script is a love sonnet by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. A strong, powerful female writer. It would be great if you could perform it to Ed.
Okay, if it's in the script, you've got to stick to the script.
Jessie, it's a little bit weird, don't you think?
Oh, come on, mate.
Are we mates?
Of course we're mates.
You weren't supposed to divide her up in the minivan.
Oh, so I didn't bother you with all the songs about how great Candace is.
Oh, okay, sure, that makes sense. Candace, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways I love thee to the breadth and depth and height.
Stop!
What? I'm reading the words. Breadth and height, my soul can breathe.
Yes, but you're not making any sense. You've got to use the rhythm. It's written in iambic pentameter. Weak strong, weak strong, weak strong, weak strong, weak strong. It's so you know what words and ideas the poet is trying to express. It also helps it make sense. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways.
Candace, how do I love?
You don't say her name, that's just saying it's her line. Now it's yours.
Oh, okay. Emma!
Just start at how, look at Ed, and stick to the rhythm.
But this poem doesn't stick to that rhythm. It is a poem of passion and immediacy.
It is the poem about iambic pentameter, and that is what I'm trying to teach her.
But the rhythm jumps all over the place, like your heart when you first fall in love. Emma, if you really want to do this poem justice, you've got to give it some passion. Jessie, I think we should just cancel the show.
Nope.
I mean, there is no way Emma is ever going to find anyone she cares about enough to be able to...
How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight for the ends of being in ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with a passion put to use with my old griefs and with my childhood faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And, if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death.
Who is this girl?
I'm Emma. I've been a minivan driver for 6 months.
This Emma? I've never met this Emma before. That was almost not bad.
Whoa, okay! These guys are gonna have to get this show if they know what happens next.
Hey! Cool. So, that a bit of an insight into one of our shows. That show's aimed at kind of 13 to kind of 14-year-olds. Thank you, Rosemary. I love those virtual applauses. So if there's any questions about this show, Erica is directing another show aimed at kind of like 12 to 13-year-olds. We have a show called Words of War, looking at Wilfred Owen's poetry, and another show called Fact versus Fiction. All this information is available through Edulinks and through our website, www.poetryinaction.com.au as well. But if there's any questions now, before we hand over to the next presenter, please feel free to let us know. Standing by.
I figure I might as well just chime in while we're waiting for anybody. So are most of your workshops done in schools, or do people come to you? How does it go about?
Well, we tour 2 schools, yeah. absolutely. So it's an incursion program. So the actors come to you, and then there's you have the opportunity to have a Q&A with the actors afterwards, and we can also build workshops in with that incursion if you want, as a sort of additional part of the package.
And that being the case, how extensive is the sort of touring that you do? Do you have limitations with regional areas, or do you kind of do more work online, especially given last year? I think that's something a lot of people usually are curious about.
In an ordinary year, there's not many limitations at all. At the moment, we've sort of
well, they just built a wall along the WA border yesterday, so that does we can't really do anything about that. Look, the shows are designed to be seen live. That's the way they're designed. It's theatre. That's where we get the biggest response. That has the most impact on kids. In a digital setting, they're professionally filmed, professionally recorded, so it's as good as it can be. We've also got our live, our live and digital teachers program as well, which we've just been developing and will be available in 2021, which works to kind of follow. I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, so what we're doing with that is looking at ways that you can use theatre making practices in the English classroom. So poetry is supposed to be heard and performed, but it can be a little bit scary for students to start speaking it. So we look at the techniques that we use with actors to get them into the text, that teachers can then use to get their students to connect with the text. On a more kind of personal level by actually speaking it and writing it.
Works in tandem with the shows themselves, so the kids can see how it is for poetry to be performed and get a better understanding of it, and then backs it up with the teachers training program where they can begin to implement those that learning into the classroom.
Awesome. That's it's great to hear, and it's always having that overlap and the continuity. I think teachers always really appreciate that. So we'll move along, and thanks heaps, Bryce and Erica, for that. Sorry to be always, I'm going to have to be pretty brief and cutthroat for everybody. So now we have WestWords. So Michael, you're free to take over.
Hi, my name's Michael Campbell. I'm the Executive Director of WestWords. We're Western Sydney's literature development organisation, and what that means is that we develop writers through workshops, residencies, fellowships, professional opportunities, and creation of career pathways. We develop audiences through public programs, festivals, promoting the stories, writers and writing emanating from Western Sydney. And we develop the art form through exploring, investing and developing new forms of literature at the intersections of kind of diverse cultural traditions and or new technologies. We have a very extensive schools program, which we have been running over many years now. Generally speaking, over the past 3, 4, 5 years, we've been working between into 28 to 47 schools, including last year in lockdown, because we did most of our work through, virtually. So we do in person and virtual. What we do is, at its core, is that we bring professional writers into schools in customized programs of engagement to complement work done by teachers. Look, when we try to explain this, how we try to say it is that, you know, if you're doing sports, you could bring, and you're teaching athletics, you could bring the coach from the regional athletics organisation, Little Athletics, along. However, and the kids would get to have a wonderful time, they'd learn heaps, that have brilliant. But what we do instead is that into maybe a school which has a high Aboriginal population, we'll bring in Kathy Freeman. And that's no overstatement, because what we do is that the writers we bring into school, and we work with over 100 writers per year. So we bring in writers of that kind of caliber. We bring in people like Jasmine Seymour and Leanne Mulder Watson, who just won the Children's Prime Minister's Literature Awards. So that's the caliber of people we bring in. And we think that that makes a huge difference, even at a beginning stage. We work with over 15,000 people per year. We also, so some of the things that we offer and we're offering through, excuse me, I'm just pulling it up, through EduLinks, is that we are offering a number of different programs. One of the programs, which is a really wonderful little workshop, but is postcards from a stranger. And it's about using a postcard stimulus to bring an imagination to a postcard, so from a visual stimulus, and to create a story and a character out of that. And so, for example, from Sunset Celebration of Literature, wow, what a resource. It's so simple, but I can see that it's going to help these kids so much. We have podcasting equipment. And we run podcasting workshops, over 180-minute workshop with a professional writer and producer to take students through the basics of putting together a killer podcast, choosing subject, planning, writing, recording, editing and publishing, and we can bring in our own pop-up studio. We teach creative writing workshops from people like Melina Marquetta, AJ Betts, Jacqueline Harvey, Tim Harris, Deborah Bella, Fiona Wright, James Wright, Chloe Higgins, David Malouf, Isabel Carmody, and they are customized to the school timetable. We also offer writer in residence programs. Generally speaking, we run that in 5 sessions across 5 to 10 weeks, but that can be shorter or longer. And that's around building a story and editing a story over a good period of time. And you can see the benefits of that. Quite often that finishes up in a publication. And we aim to do a publication which is of the standard of a book in a bookshop. And you can see examples of all our things on our website, westwords.com.au. And the final one is that we teach writing to teachers. So as a teacher, you want your students to learn from the best. And so this will mean that we will be able to help the teachers learn from the best, so that it will be guiding through the processes of people to perfect their craft, offering tips, shortcuts, resources, etc. Yeah, anything really. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. I thought I'd give you a bit of extra time there because of the cutting out. Rose, you definitely like to chat to about the podcast workshop. So I think you've got interest there.
Fantastic.
I've not had, even from my experience, we've not come across many people doing podcasts. So I think that's something that's really beneficial. I guess from a teaching standpoint, have you found with the work that you've done over the years, have teachers asked you about things like NAPLAN and HSC? I mean, I hate to, not that anybody really likes to talk too much about that, but has there been any kind of tracking in that sense, especially with some of the residency stuff that you do? Or I just thought I'd throw that kind of question out there.
Simple answer to that. We started an engagement with the Ponds High School with a writer in residence program and building up their skills. And that was over Tenantly, the Blacktown Mayoral Creative Writing Prize. It was completely separate, completely blind, the competition. Those kids got about 1/3 of the prizes just from that group. That also went directly into the standard of their marks. And that's the feedback from the teachers, from the assistant principal who has got oversight of English, and that they've seen the rise and the sheer understanding of the craft. So by bringing the professional process within the needs of the school, we provide that sort of the creative writing that seems to be so lacking at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the case. And the only other kind of quick thing I was going to ask is if you've seen from the schools, if you've seen any transfer in terms of sort of analytical writing or into literacy kind of more broadly.
We do right across the board. Yes, the simple answer is yes. We cover all forms of writing, so it's not just creative writing, it's discursive, it's screenwriting, it's for performance, it's for all the analytical stuff, it's for the technical writing, it's right across the board. And that's where, when you're talking a writer in residence or a workshop, we chat about what do you need, what's the potential, let's work through the pragmatics, let's work out the exact program that you need, and then we find the profile of the writer and get that person in, so we bring you the best.
Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, that's answering all the questions I think and most people would be curious about. So thanks so much for the time, Michael. Now, as I sort of mentioned before this to the presenters, Riverside wasn't able to attend themselves, but they have sent me through some information that I'm going to now share the screen about. I'll do my best to sort of speak to it, as well as share some of the trailers, but if worse comes to worse, I'll definitely be sending through the links to some of those videos and other providers afterwards. If you would like to share or send through any links that you would like us to promote throughout the year, you're more than welcome to, and we'll put them out on the page and send them out through teacher emails as well. So just to start with, I'm going to share the screen. And I'll be sharing first the PowerPoint and also just an email, because I asked a question to Amy about COVID in particular. So from what you can see with Riverside Theatres, Riverside Theatres does do work with both primary and secondary school. They also do it from sort of stage 4 all the way up to stage 5 and 6 into HSC. So a lot of the work that you'll see in here, they've gone through to show you the curriculum links, which is something that's, for all presenters, is something always to consider, and I think teachers always really appreciate. But they've got quite a variety of shows here. I'll kind of quickly go through each one. So I've been meaning to ask you, is essentially looking at young people answering pretty serious questions of adults, and a pretty dialogic experience there for you to see. And I'll show you the trailer just in a minute. You've also got the Appleton Ladies potato race. All of these are very much, for the most part, uniquely Australian stories, and this is one as well. Tackling essentially a small town fighting for gender parity within this kind of local race within the culture. We also have, The Tempest. So one of the things that you'll see in the Seymour Centre and Riverside Theatres both do overlap at times throughout the year. So Sport for Joes is quite well respected and well known for their Shakespeare shows, and you'll see that they're both being held at the Seymour Centre and Riverside Theatres. And the main thing to, I guess, know about and to be aware of from a teaching standpoint for any of the Riverside Theatres or these spaces for theatre in particular, is obviously there are limitations in terms of most of the time these are going to be excursions and they have their set dates there. So all of that stuff you can find on their website as well as in the Edulinks listings. We've also got Zombie Thoughts. I'm just going to read from here because I've only sort of had the time to look through. So this creative, groundbreaking and unique production is a great way to demystify anxiety for your students. Set inside the world of a video game, this is a bit of a choose your own adventure book live on stage where your students actually control the outcome, and will be accompanied by an app where the students can design and navigate their own stories. So particularly for English teachers moving towards different technologies and media, and given the engagement and relevance of games and anxiety for students today, it certainly would be something that's worth looking at for stage 4. You also have, as I mentioned before, Othello from Sport for Jove. Chasing Smoke is a much more multimedia style excursion. So it provides excellent insight into Aboriginal experiences in Australia, using circus primarily, but it uses a range of different media formats. New Owner is certainly something for stage 4, and I wouldn't be surprised if possibly primary school as well. A sensitive non-verbal show for all ages about loss, friendship and new beginnings. Excellent for students who have English as a second language, but appealing to all. Bart is a boisterous puppy waiting to be chosen from the animal shelter. Mabel is a lonely widow trying to fill the hole in her heart. The day they find each other is the beginning of a profound friendship, but Mabel is old and Bart is young and suddenly alone. And Robot Song also taps into some of the similar issues that we addressed back in Zombie Thoughts. And Tyrific is adapted from Oliver Famavana's best-selling novel. That's probably my worst attempt at pronouncing a name. When all your friends want pad thai and all you want is pizza. This hilarious and heartfelt play about acceptance, family and belonging will have you laughing out loud. So I just wanted to kind of bring it back to just a couple of the videos, just so you can get a bit of an insight. As I said, I'll share these into the Facebook groups afterwards so that you can see them.
Why do we have feelings and why do we have pain? What is your deepest, darkest secret?
What's the stupidest thing you've ever done?
Do you like being an adult?
Is the earth safe?
How do you get through depression?
What does it feel like to be heartbroken?
Are you scared of never finding love? Am I good looking?
Did you? How do you know if someone hates you?
How do you stop? Is heaven real?
So obviously this is overlooking throughout the whole year. I thought I'd also just show you Chasing Smoke, as it's a little bit different. We won't, as I said, have the time to go through all of them, and I'll probably just show you a bit of a snippet of this.
Nana Lily was taken because she was in a relationship with a white man, and that wasn't allowed in the 1930s.
Growing up in a modern society with fair skin, it was always easier for me to be white than it was to be black.
So as I said, sorry to cut these off, but we're just sort of pressing time now. So as I said, more of these will be out throughout the next sort of coming months, and it's definitely worth sharing these across KLAs, because some of this will be more relevant or also really worthwhile for dance and drama and music teachers as well. So we've just gone through, one of the things I just sort of wanted to bring the attention to is I just asked about COVID. So in response, they said that the education page will kind of keep updating information for teachers, and the education coordinator will always have the information on hand for you. And pretty much you can, I would say for most people to monitor, and this probably goes for most of our presenters here, to monitor their website, particularly the contact section. And for a lot of providers at the moment, you have got the benefit of a bit of time that they had last year to really adapt and adjust websites for COVID in general. So yeah, that's pretty much everything from Riverside. Sorry, I just didn't, there was not much point taking chat, obviously taking any question and answers, because I'm not the one that's really able to answer that, but I thought that was something worth asking just in case, particularly because excursions can, and going to be a little bit more complicated for sure in 2021. So thanks for your patience, and I'm going to pass it over to the Seymour Centre and Tim.
Hey everyone, thanks Grant, thank you everyone for this opportunity. If you don't know the Seymour Centre, we are a large multi-venue arts centre right practically in the centre of Sydney in Chippendale. Our arts education program has been a core part of what we do since about 2010. And in 2019, pre-COVID, we had about 30,000 plus students, primary and high school students, engaging with the centre during that year in a whole range of programs. Our focus is on delivering high quality productions that are very much linked to the syllabus. So, and often they're large scale productions, as Grant was saying before. One of our resident companies is Sport for Jove, and if you know their work, they present very sort of rigorous, detailed and large-scale productions of Shakespeare, as well as, you know, famous plays like The Crucible. So that aspect of our work is very much about the syllabus. And in a similar way with our other work for primary school years through to year 10, we're interested in presenting performances and sometimes workshops that really serve as a catalyst for learning and deep discussion that might have a tangential relationship to the syllabus, but definitely always part of a syllabus learning structure. So, for example, this year later on, we've got for primary schools, I think it's stage 2 and 3, we've got the premiere production delayed from last year of Andy Griffith's Just books called Just, Annoying, Tricky, etc., etc. And but that one's also about, you know, it does raise lots of questions that will be discussed in Q&As after the show around responsibility, around reading, of course, as well, but around the way kids behave. And it's also incredible fun, and sometimes that's a great reason also to come to the theatre as part of the learning experience. Our arts education program in general is carefully aligned to the New South Wales syllabus and across all events, and we have detailed teachers' notes that accompany each one of the productions. The other area that we like to focus on, and that's becoming increasingly focused, is us, Seymour, initiating projects which are about teaching through the arts to non-traditional art subjects. So we've done original performances on climate change. For science students, we've done ones on healthy eating and sort of the diet industry for PDHPE. And another great example of one, which we'll come to in a second, is what we've got coming up this year, which is a school's performance of Prima Facie, which is a tough play, but it also interrogates Australia's justice system. So it's really one for both drama and legal studies students. So that's something we're really interested in, is how we can use the arts as a way of learning, I guess, through other non-traditional arts, non-traditional subject areas. I just wanted to touch briefly on COVID that Grant mentioned again, we have had school groups here since last September, engaging in some performances, and we've got fangirls here that Belvoir Street is producing at the venue, and we have over lots of schools coming up, over 3 schools performances. So all of our guidelines are, procedures are in line with New South Wales Health Guidelines and Board of Studies, Department of Education. And look, we're at 75% capacity, and all of that means is that we need lists of students before they arrive. And, you know, we will be advising, just as Grant said before, if there's any specific changes to those guidelines, but we're used to doing it now. So please bring your students and we'll communicate, you know, how to safely do that throughout the process. Over to, oh yeah, sorry. I just wanted to say this brochure, it's probably going to be in reverse there, is it? Yes, I think it is. No, you're seeing it? Okay. Is our arts education brochure for 2021. Sorry, what does that mean? Does that mean red means shut up, doesn't it? No? Okay, sorry. So that should be hitting all schools this week. But if it doesn't, it's through the EduLinks, you know, webpage, has all the contact information, as does SeymourCentre.com. And that has our 2021 program. It's coming later than usual. Usually it's term 4 the year before, but obviously with COVID, we've had a slightly more contained program for 2021, but we wanted to make sure we could deliver what it is we've got on, which is this. If we're lucky. Hello, share the screen. Oh, sorry, here we go. Apologies. So the big thing to mention is the HSC symposiums, which start in March. And these are really detailed, rigorous 2 to 3 hour sessions for specifically around HSC texts delivered by Sport for Jove. Again, you know, our resident company, as I said before. And these are real opportunities for students to see scenes from the play and ask all of their questions that they want to ask about texts that they're studying, from Crucible, Merchant of Venice, Waiting for Godot, Hamlet, etc., etc. Full list of symposiums are on the website. And then The Tempest, as was mentioned before, also playing Riverside in June, Othello as well, and Macbeth, July, August. These are all have lots already, I'm glad to say, have lots of advanced bookings from schools, but there's still space. And of course, we'd like as many to come as possible. There's Just, Tricking, Annoying, Stupid, Crazy, Disgusting, etc. Shocking, Doomed, live on stage. The Andy Griffiths play, which will be great fun. And as I said, we'll also have teacher resources in there as well. And then to finish off, Across the Skies, some of you may know Treehouse Theatre, which does this amazing work with young refugee kids in their first year of living in Australia. And these are always incredibly popular performances. And they'll be again performing in their new show, Across the Skies, in November. There we go. I also mentioned Prima Facie again for drama and legal studies. So that is our 2021 program. Everything's online for booking. Our processes are, our online processes, our booking process is entirely online. So hope you can come. Any questions?
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. I thought I'd let you go a bit longer because I didn't see any.
Oh shit! Was that sorry?
No. The red texture, you know, it's just it's letting you know that there's 30 seconds for your presentation and 3 minutes, and then the Q&A. But there was no questions in the chat, and you were answering a lot of stuff that I would have asked, so I thought I'd let you go. I guess the only other thing I thought might be worth asking is, because you said that there's 75% capacity at the moment. I know COVID restrictions may change up and it's hard to predict. But do you know if you're able to then do 100% capacity, if schools are then still able to book, even if it's pretty close to the date? Do you know much?
Yeah, sure. Look, we had this process towards the end of last year, and we're doing it currently. So basically, when we hit 75%, we'll just take a waiting list. And hopefully, if we go to 100%, then the first school on the waiting list will get in. So yeah, it's definitely. I mean, now that we're at 75%, it's definitely worth schools, doing that. and hopefully they won't, miss out.
Yeah,
so, it's a waiting list process, and yeah.
No, that's great. That's good to know. So I thought that's probably the only question I could think of.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry for going over.
No, yeah, you've time anyway. You're good. Okay, awesome. Thanks heaps for that. And yeah, as Rose said, a waiting list gives schools time to plan. So it's a good approach, and it's something, part of doing this is also to kind of give presenters ideas as well for things like COVID. So if you were struggling to get to capacity or wanted to be prepared for capacity, and you hadn't sort of thought of waiting lists and a bit of a process for that, that's something certainly worth doing for schools and for yourself. So yeah, I thought, okay, now we can move over, and we have Story Squad with Tiffany. I'll let you take over.
Hello, thank you, Grant. I'm also here with Emily, actually. So she's going to do the presentation with me, but I am Tiffany from Story Squad. I'm the founder and director of the company. I started it in 2017, and Emily is our wonderful squad leader who works alongside me to help me manage and bring to life the business. I'm going to share, because I now know how to, I'm going to share this presentation, and we're really just going to talk through it. And can everyone see that? Can you see that? Yeah, great. All right, so Story Squad is, here we go. We're just going to quickly talk through, what we do, why we do it, who we are, our programs, and then some details to get in touch with us. But basically, we run interactive and immersive creative writing and storytelling incursions that specialize in primary schools. So we only run them from age 5 to 12. So we cover everything from early stage 1 through to stage 3. We did actually win the Osmompreneur Making a Difference in Education Award last year, which was super exciting for us because we're a fairly new business. But all our programs are curriculum based, and we've developed them with teachers and professional writers. And really our focus is on really immersing and inspiring primary age students around the imagination space, ideas, building confidence in their ideas and tuning into their own imaginations, as well as sort of creative writing techniques and creative writing skills. So yeah, our focus is on building their confidence in their creative thinking. And we also are very, very into making sure that we're providing a memorable experience. It's really, really fun. So essentially, we do see some students that just have a bit of a little bit lacking in confidence, or a little bit averse to creative writing, or just sort of have a lot of self-doubt about their own ideas and their own imaginations. And we're seeing with the prevalence of kind of lots of watching screens and social media that some of their confidence is eroding, and they're not actually having the time to even tap into their own imaginations and themselves. So we're all about getting them back to themselves and their own ideas and imaginations. We run programs, we do run holiday workshops, but for the purposes of schools, we run incursions that can be anywhere between 1 hour to a half day or a full day workshop. We run workshops for book week, enrichment days, or any time during the school year. And we can adapt or create bespoke workshops to suit the school's needs, any specific topics that they might be focusing on, or any specific. So for example, we were approached by a school to run a pre-NAPLAN workshop at one point, which we did as well, which they loved. A little bit about why we do it and where sort of the philosophy of Story Squad, why I founded it. And it says a lot in this quote by Steve Jobs: the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation that is to come. And I just think that, and I'm sure everyone who's here will agree, that the power of storytelling can sometimes be underrated. And we just believe that telling stories is just one of the most important skill sets that a child can possibly develop on so many levels. One of the reasons being that it just gives unparalleled leadership skills. And also something that's not often mentioned is that the skills that are gained by a child through the process of creative writing and storytelling are the ones that are going to be highest in demand in the workforce. Well, I say of the future, but actually the current workforce, where increasingly they're going to be challenged and competing with robots and artificial intelligence and things like emotional intelligence and specifically empathy, which is in decline, and creative thinking, creative problem solving. They're actually cited by the World Economic Forum as some of the most in-demand skills in the workforce currently, and even more so moving into the future. So that's kind of a bit of background as to what we're all about and what we're actually trying to achieve with kids in our workshops. So very quickly, I am the founder and director of Story Squad. I'm mother of two. I actually have a background in advertising, but then I left to study creative writing, and I have been working since 2017 to refine our holiday and in-school programs to make sure that they're extremely engaging, resident and impactful. And we really want to give kids real life tools to take away and build on that inspire them to, I guess, have a passion for creative writing, develop a passion for creative writing, develop a passion for having ideas, the confidence to express those ideas, and to use their own imagination. And I'm going to hand over to the wonderful Emily from here.
So Grant, I've seen that the red pen's there already, so I'm going to have to go on breakneck speed. So thanks, Tiff. I guess I'm just going to really go through this very quickly. Why am I here? I actually was brought on by Tiffany as a, when I was going on maternity leave, I was having my third child, and a friend introduced us because of our joint passion to help kids in this arena. I'm a graduate from the Masters in Teaching in Primary Education, and I graduated from Sydney Uni and have been teaching in schools since around 2013. And now I work with Tiff at Story Squad. So my strongest belief as an educator is that students should be engaged and inspired by quality children's literature. And in my classrooms, I guess I was really passionate about that, and drama in games and storytelling as an imperative tool to teach kids and I guess adults as we move through. Because I'm aware that we're running very, very low on time, I'm going to get Tiff just to go on to the next. We basically run in-school programs developed to teach students the art of storytelling and creative writing in an engaging and interactive way. So we basically embed syllabus outcomes in all that we do, whether that's via games or meaningful learning experiences and immersive tasks. The key to what we do is the kids have fun, and so do the teachers, and they should be able to carry along anything that we teach them in the programs that we deliver. And a particular focus is around a growth mindset. So as educators, we're aware that the key skills that are going to be in high demand are the things that Tiff has already touched on, like creative thinking. So we work really passionately to help teachers and the kids to help those skills to flourish. So we design our incursions to live on after we're not there, and inspire the kids to get their imagination flying, and I guess keep that moving. We tailor our programs based on your own curriculum focus and any help that you might need, and wherever you guys have a particular focus for your English or across any of the key learning areas. Tiff, I'll get you to move on just because I know that I'm very much out of time. You can actually go to our website to view any of our workshops, but they are bespoke to your school and your learning needs. So we've run a number of programs in a variety of schools across New South Wales, and we work closely with the stage AP, the teacher, or I guess the member of staff, to work out the areas that need attention and customize the workshops for you. We've run stage specific year or whole school, and we can scale and adapt those to whatever you guys need. I'll let you guys go through and read this when Grant shares it. But what's left to say is just get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. We're really happy to chat through anything that you guys need. You can have a look at our in-school workshops. You can have a look at the holiday things that we do. And Tiff and I are really happy to customize and see what we can do. And remember that those that tell the stories rule the world. And we're hopefully going to engage kids to do that moving on.
Awesome. Thanks for that. I figured I'd kind of let you go. You were answering a lot of questions I think most teachers would ask. It's nice to see, as a teacher, it's nice to see both you and WestWords have a nice approach in terms of collaborating within schools rather than kind of just bringing a ready-made, prepaid sort of thing. I think most teachers in schools really appreciate having that collaborative approach because it suits the needs of the context. So I think, yeah, it's fantastic. And sorry, I hate the text of being very passive aggressive, but yeah, I don't really have any questions. So I would think, I think you've answered everything. So thanks so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
As I said, we're probably stretching a bit of time. I apologise for people, but I'm sure you guys won't mind too much. It's kind of expected with IT stuff. So Emily from Australian Shakespeare Company, I'll let you take over from here.
Hello. Well, thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Emily. I am an actor and a teaching artist, and I've worked for many years with the Australian Shakespeare Company. And specifically, I've worked with their education program. So the Australian Shakespeare Company has a number of programs that they bring out to schools. We run workshops, we do classes, we have performance opportunities for young people in both Melbourne and Sydney. Our incursions have been running in Melbourne for the past 12 years now, and in Sydney for the past 2. We cover the following plays across both of those states. So we do Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, Othello, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Richard III, Much Ado About Nothing, The Merchant of Venice, and we also have an introduction to Shakespeare play called Play on Shakespeare. So with all of that in mind, I'm just going to bring up a share screen and I'm going to have that playing in the background for the rest of my presentation. It's just snap cuts of from all of those incursions that we have. I won't have the audio going, but it should just give you a flavor of the sorts of things that we bring out to school and the way that we run our incursions. So I'll just bring up that share screen for you all now. Give that a go. Okay, great. Lovely. So while that's playing, I'd just love to go over the fact, I mean, I'm sure we all know, anyone that has worked with students in the classroom and had to try and bring Shakespeare into it, that Shakespeare is meant to be performed. It's not meant to be read. It was never designed that way. Shakespeare certainly, when he was writing, had no intention of people hundreds of years later picking up his scripts and reading them in the written format. It was all about the performance, and that is really the cornerstone of the incursions that we bring out to school. Time and again, we see that students and teachers really connect with the stunning plays of Shakespeare when they're brought to life. And we've often had feedback from teachers that it can be really difficult when you're first embarking on bringing Shakespeare to the classroom, on ways to find for students to engage with can often be quite dense and tricky text, even for those who are experts in the field. So that is what our incursions are all about. It's about bringing Shakespeare off the page and into performance and making it accessible for the students and for the teachers as well for the learning syllabus. So we find that during the sessions, the best way to get and that is the end of my share screen. So thank you for watching that. I'll stop that now. We find that the best way to make sure that the students are really embodying the text and having a comprehensive understanding of it and engaging with it is to get them up and to get them performing it. So all of our incursions are interactive. We also have, we make sure that all of the incursions have professional actors that have worked professionally with Shakespearean texts. So they're really able to take the students by the hand and guide them through this really tricky text. So that's something that we really pride ourselves on as a company. We really understand that syllabus and that pairing it with the syllabus and presenting to the students really strong performative elements is going to help their understanding most of all. So this ensures that the students are going to be really not only engaged, but comprehending the text as well, which is really at the core of what we do. So the company makes sure that after every performance, there's a really expansive Q&A between the actors and the students, just to make sure that anything that might have been left out in the incursion, that's not going to slip through the cracks. So to finish up, I'll just very quickly go through the 5 pillars that we base all of the Australian Shakespeare Company education work on, and especially the incursions. So the first one is to connect with the characters through the robust performances delivered by our seasoned actors or the students themselves, in fact. The second is to comprehend, and that refers to the context of the play, the themes and the meaning of the text, and using active rehearsal room techniques, which we have sown throughout the incursions. The third is to appreciate. That's the brilliance of the writing and the language through the analysis of the form, the features, and the structure of the text. The fourth is to express as creators when directing and performing scenes, and through personal, analytical, and creative writing. So that's a very tricky one to unpack, but it's very important. So not only are they going to be able to take ownership over the work that they're doing, but they're going to be able to apply that through personal use as well. And the final one is to inspire, and that's the next generation with the timeless wisdom and life lessons of this classical literature. And that's, the ultimate life that this education we find is contained within. So more details about the shows and how to book are available on our website, which is shakespeareaustralia.com.au/education. Our head of education, Joe Bloom, is always happy to talk, and we also develop specific workshops and sessions to best suit your needs as teachers, and to pair that with what you're teaching to your students. So Jo started the program for the company, and she's really passionate about it. She can be contacted directly at jo@shakespeareaustralia.com.au, and she's always really happy to chat. So I think that's all the time that I have, but if there's any questions, feel free to ask them.
And I would say that's Jo, that's J-O, it's not J.
J-O, that's right, yes. And I can, in fact, I'll put it in the chat now, her best email address.
And that's, I mean, for everybody that's that gets this anyway, you'll be able to see those details afterwards, and with all the listings, the information to contact is always available in the listings. I guess the only questions I was thinking of asking is, since you've only been in New South Wales or Sydney for 2 years, is there limitations with kind of where you're able to bring the incursions to?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I mean, because in New South Wales, we're still in our growth phase with the work, we're actually quite able to take it wherever there's interest at the moment. So, for instance, we have had some commissions from down south, outside of Sydney, down around Wollongong and Nowra, and we've taken the show on tour down there a number of times. Which is awesome. And so, yeah, we are really interested in having a dialogue with the teachers and about making sure that the shows we're bringing out to the school are really ticking the boxes for the different educational modules, and really specifically the HSC text, because obviously Shakespeare is all through the HSC at the moment. And it's really important to us, from the perspective of a professional theatre company, to make sure that students are not coming through high school and at the end of it really hating Shakespeare. We want to make sure that we can bring it to life for them and make sure that they come away with a positive experience with it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good to hear, because part of starting EduLinks and putting this together is to ideally kind of close the gaps from regional, remote, and metropolitan. Obviously, we can't all do that, but it's good to just hear and see that that's possible with not only yourself, but a lot of the presenters here today as well. So
yeah, and I'll just add in as well that the Australian Shakespeare Company does also have online content that's accessible. So that's obviously very much the prerogative in a post-2020 landscape with education, but that's certainly been brilliant in terms of making sure that we can have outreach to regional schools and regional areas as well.
Awesome. No, that's really good to hear. That was something a positive from last year, despite the hectic nature of it. It did kind of push things forward from the technological standpoint, and hopefully that has an impact beyond this year. Thanks. I would probably ask more questions, but we're getting pressed for time, and Chris has been very patient. So, and I did say this would end at 5, but it's going to go a bit over. So again, thanks so much for that, Emily. I'll let Chris from Speaking Schools take over and finish us off, and then I'll have about a minute to just conclude. Thanks.
Thank you. Can everyone see my slides? Yep. Okay. So thank you everyone for, again, hanging around till now, and I'll just try and be quick and get to the point as much as possible. So as Grant said, my name is Chris. I'm here to represent Speaking Schools Australasia. We basically run debating and public speaking workshops for children from year 1 all the way through to year 12. Just to give you a quick background about Speaking Schools and how it all started, and then I'll delve into the incursion side of things. So Speaking Schools started at around 2015. So it's been running for about 6 years. It's a locally owned and run business. To give you an idea, when Mark, who is the co-founder and managing director, when he started, there was 7 students and about 4 coaches. And just recently in our summer programs, we had 450 students in a couple of weeks, plus 40 coaches come through. So there's been a lot of growth, and there's been, of course, as you can imagine, a lot of ups and downs, especially due to COVID-19. However, Speaking Schools was very blessed in the sense that we had already been doing a lot of online learning prior to COVID coming into the picture. So I guess COVID just pushed us to evolve a little bit further. Sorry, I just... So a little bit about what we do day to day, I guess, is we offer weekly term programs. And that basically means that parents predominantly are our key point of contact for the weekly term programs that are run after school in debating and public speaking. We've also got intensive holiday workshops. Once again, that's more for the parent community. But now today it's more about, I guess, addressing the student and teaching community a little bit more. And that's where school incursions and professional development seminars kick in. So just to give you an idea of what that means, we basically run and have run public speaking and debating seminars, whether it's a half day, full day, or ongoing programs with schools. An example of what we've done recently, we connected with Regional New South Wales, which was a fantastic opportunity. That was with Narrabri Primary School. And that involved running a 5-week public speaking workshop with students who were very much involved in leadership roles. And the students were amazing. We did it all through Zoom. It was a beautiful success. And then because of course, the wonderful world of technology, we were able to run a professional development seminar in public speaking with the teacher running that particular group. So I guess the fact that COVID came in kind of pushed and opened up new doors for us. And that's something that we would like to continue to do. So in terms of incursions and professional development, we are open to both options, face-to-face or online, depending on location, school's preference, and of course, whatever COVID is demanding of us in terms of restrictions. A lot of our programs, sorry, I just accidentally flicked that. A lot of our programs that we do within schools, and of course, the weekly and in holiday programs that we run, cover some of these key areas of the New South Wales English curriculum. And basically what we want, of course, we want students to meet outcomes that are, and teachers as well, to help foster meet outcomes. But the crux, I guess, is something that other presenters touched on, is building confidence. We really encourage students to find their voice, have a sense of agency, where they can express their point of views about the world, about their experiences, share stories and such. We want them to walk away with a little bit more critical thinking, which of course will help them not only in school, but beyond. Empathy was touched upon today. That's something that we really, really value and really foster in our classrooms and beyond. And of course, resilience. So basically, we want students to walk away with soft skills that have hard value in life, not just in the classroom. So that's a little bit about the curriculum and our core values. In terms of our professional development, we try to, I guess the reason we offer them is, I know I was a teacher myself. I still do a little bit of teaching, but I was teaching in New South Wales schools. And of course, I've taught internationally as well, that often we don't always get the support or the resources needed to develop our skills further. And I guess that's what professional development is all about. So that's what we want to offer. We want to offer courses in either debating or public speaking, or both for that matter, to help, I guess, teachers meet some of the professional standards, and therefore, I guess, equip them to facilitate these two subject areas a little bit more and feel much more supported in doing so. At the end of the day, I guess one thing I want to just wrap up with is our mission statement is to, as I mentioned before, is to provide students with soft skills and resilience so they can, I guess, cope with change a lot more, walk away with a bit more self-confidence, and of course, empathy, not only for others, but also for themselves. And on a very final note, we also have free resources available for teachers on YouTube. And we have a Facebook page as well, but the YouTube resources, just so you know, there are like mini tutorials in debating and public speaking, and we encourage you to go ahead and have a look and see if they work for you. And that is all. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Chris. You might want to, you might want to stop sharing your screen so people can what you look like. That's always good. Yeah, I thought, because you're coming from quite a different angle relative to a lot of the other providers. It's, speaking and public speaking and debating is something, at least from my experience, often kind of a teacher will run, build a team and compete with other schools in a competition. So I just thought I'd ask, is there, have your coaches or has the kind of business come into schools to kind of take over that role or find ways to support it? Because that's my experience of it. And I'd just be curious to see if that's something, given it seems like it's fairly new to be coming in schools.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we try to, I guess, work with schools so I'm going to give you an example. We have schools that just want us to come in and go, can you run a public speaking seminar? So this week, for example, I'm going into Marist, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to run a public speaking seminar where the teachers are there to simply support, I guess, more classroom manage. And we do the facilitating. But then there are other schools who prefer, I guess, for us to provide the resources and I guess maybe some training, but then they walk away and they facilitate. So I guess it's a bit of both, to be honest. But so far it's been more schools are more open for us to come in, maybe not take over, but I guess work together, and then eventually for teachers to walk away with resources that they can refer back to if they wanted to.
Awesome. That's really good. That answers a lot of that. Rose just had a question.
I'm just reading it now. Have you had any? Yes, we have. Actually, it's a great question. We've had we've had a couple of, I didn't mention this, but I'll mention it now in relation to answering that question. We also offer private or individual coaching or one-on-one for students who have a specific need around public speaking or debating. And one of those that's come up is exactly what Rosemary asked, is interview preparation, whether it's for a scholarship or for a job or for university or whatnot. So yeah, we definitely have coaches that have training in that, and we have resources to support that process.
Yeah, because I mean, Rose is a good friend of mine, and she does careers work. So that's definitely, I think that's definitely, an area that would probably save some careers advisors and even year advisors time. That would be really worthwhile, I think. And I guess the only other thing, because we're pretty much wrapping up here, is have you done work? Because you sort of mentioned confidence and resilience. So is some of the work that you've done around sort of leadership as well? Because I know that's an area, I've been a year advisor before, and public speaking is one of those things that a lot of schools care about with their leaders and with younger students, kind of building them up in that area. But it's something that's not necessarily one person's designated to kind of run that or support that. So I just thought I'd ask that. Yeah.
I think from our experience, what we try to do, I guess, is have as much interactive and engaging resources and lessons, activities that encourage students to take leadership, if that makes sense. So it's not so explicitly, you know, you need to do this to be a good leader, or so I think that's why I was saying before, we really encourage students to find their voice. I think a lot of students are hesitant. That's why parents and teachers do want these programs. And the 5-week program we did with Narrabri, for example, those students were specifically involved in leadership roles within the community. So I guess we tailored the program a little bit more to get them a little bit more confident, prepared, but also, you know, the nitty-gritty stuff of how to structure something, but how to be an effective public speaker in the sense of thinking outside the box a little bit more, and approaching a speech in a different way rather than the generic, hi, my name is. So we try and be a little bit more creative, I guess, in that regard, and hopefully leadership kind of falls into that. And I think the main thing is we really encourage our coaches to give one-on-one feedback, because I think we need honest, constructive, positive feedback in order to evolve. And I think with that, you know, the end product is maybe to be better in all areas, including leadership.
And with that program that you did, was that in school or was it after school? Because I know that's probably the only other thing I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So that one in particular, they had an hour during school time once a week over 5 weeks. But we can also and have also done things outside of the school time. But I know, because I know it's really hard for schools to schedule in so many programs. But yes, that was in school.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, that's pretty much everything from me. I know that we've gone over time. Thanks for those that could stick around. I know some people may have had to leave a bit earlier. But for those remaining and for future conferences, the plan is to do this again in term 3, and we'll probably rebrand it as an expo, because that's really what it is. Ideally, it would be really great for us to have a venue so teachers can come to it and you can have much more one-on-one time and things are a little less rushed, and you can better interact with them and things can be better organized for them leading into 2022. But that's the ambition, and we hope that will be a staple throughout the year that can really connect both sides and make things a bit more efficient, as well as collaborative and supportive, getting you the feedback you need and designing things to help teachers as much as possible. So outside of that, continue to check out some of the things on the EduLinks Facebook page. We're going to continue to expand and bring on as many programs as possible for teachers and share that throughout the Facebook groups. But hopefully it will be something that builds more and more throughout the year. And hopefully it's a better year for excursions and incursions and partnerships, so people are not so isolated and neglected in that area. Thanks for everyone today and for really believing in this and coming on board. I appreciate it tremendously. So thanks again. And I would say, for those also, we will be putting out a feedback form in the next couple of days, and also any information for presenters that you would like me to pass on, please feel free to send any links, information, packages in the email, and we'll use that and filter that out throughout for teachers. And same thing for teachers, even those seeing this, if there's any questions or things that you would like to get for you in particular, feel free to contact through the EduLinks page at the contact forms there, or contact@edulinks.com.au. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone, and have a great night and a great rest of the week.
Thank you, Grant.
No worries.